We're remembering those who fought and died in World War I all this year as a century passes since the start of it. There are no Canadian survivors still living, so many families now rely on what their ancestors left behind to remember them. But the Battis family, until recently, had no record of its contribution to the Great War, until some old clippings and diaries were found, and Bob Battis knew someone who might like to tell that story. His son, Todd Battis.
Okay, here it is.
Bob Battis recently uncovered relics of the First World War, long-forgotten family treasures.
Unbelievable.
Telling the story of the grandfather he never knew. James Battis was 30, married with 3 young children, when he went to France with the Nova Scotia Highlanders in 1915.
This was an adventure.
It turned hellish as he hauled a heavy Lewis machine gun like this over and through the trenches, writing home at every chance.
I won't know the baby when I get back. He'll be a big boy.
Touching handwritten letters, especially for me. You've likely guessed, this was my great-grandfather.
Little fellows will have a good daddy if I ever get home.
He was killed in 1917. Instead of a father, his children got a coin.
Unfortunately, you got one when you didn't come home.
I guess I was a little older when I put together the fact that the name carved on that cenotaph was somehow related to me, my great-grandfather. He was never spoken about in my house growing up, and he certainly wasn't mentioned by my grandfather, his son.
He felt that going to war was not the thing to do, and that his father kind of abandoned him, perhaps. So he never talked about this, and my aunt never talked about it.
No one in the family knew he was part of the pivotal battle at Vimy Ridge.
The Highlanders stormed up Hill 145 and within 2.5 hours stood on the summit and had captured that very vital piece of ground.
The spot where Canada's monument now stands. James Battis, killed 2 months later, is buried down the road. As with so many families, his memory is faded, but his name lives on in my 12-year-old son, James, fulfilling our promise to never forget. Todd Battis, CTV News, Halifax.